So I wanted to give a quick update on where I am with my diet and exercise routine that I recently made a video about. People seem to really like that video, and so I figured if people are into it, I can make like a weekly update and let everybody know where I am. I don't know if I look any different yet, probably not. My wife said my neck looks a bit thinner. I don't really know how a neck looks thinner. I mean, I do still have kind of like a pudge to the sides of my neck, but it'll be nice if that goes away eventually. Anyways, so today is day 7, I guess. I started last Monday and today is Monday, so it's been 1 week exactly. I have sort of reverse deduced that when I started the diet, I was at 278 pounds. I kind of had to go backwards from where my first day weigh-in was, but based off of the rate that I've been losing, I'm guessing I started at 278. I didn't think to weigh myself the night before I started the diet or the morning before. But let's say I started at 278. As of today, I am 268.2, so down just about 10 pounds in the first week. Now, I know a lot of that is probably water weight or glycogen, something like that. But at the same time, I don't think it's entirely water weight because I have, as of starting this diet, I have implemented taking 10 grams of creatine every day and drinking a gallon or more of liquid every day. And so I've drastically upped the amount of water I'm dumping into my body, and the creatine should be increasing my hydration stores because that's kind of what creatine does. It stores additional water in your muscles, which is what helps them recover and makes them look a little bit fuller when you're on creatine. It also does other stuff, like it can help with your brain chemistry and whatnot if you take enough of it. And it's really beneficial for women. If you're a woman and you don't know about creatine, look into it. Supposedly it can do wonders for you guys, even more so than it does for men. But anyways, so because I've drastically upped my hydration and my creatine intake from 0 to a good amount more than the standard dosage, I'm assuming I have a little bit more water in me than I would if I had just started the diet and not increased my water intake and my hydration levels. So it's probably not all water. It probably is some fat, that mixed with the fact that I'm on such a drastic caloric cut. But anyways, so first week, Monday to Monday, is about 10 pounds lost. As far as how I feel and energy levels, the first 2 or 3 days, I was waking up with a bit of a headache, sort of like right in my eyes and on the sides of my temples. I don't know if that was because my caffeine levels had dipped a bit, because during the first week, I decided not to do the gym routine. I figured I'd give myself a week to get into the rhythm of the diet and get over sort of like the weird fatigue and funky feelings you get when you start a drastic cut calorically and of ingredients from your diet. And so I gave myself that first week, so I wasn't going to the gym, so I wasn't taking my pre-workout. What I was doing was I was getting up in the morning. I was getting up around 6 o'clock after having gone to bed around 10, so I'm giving myself that full 8 hours to get into a rhythm here. It's going to scale back as I start to go to the gym in the morning, but I'm just going to have to deal with that to get this done. But so I was waking up around 6 in the morning. I would drink my 16 ounces of coffee with my 2 scoops of dimetized ISO 100, so that's 50 grams of protein. And that coffee protein drink came to about 400 calories once I added I think it was a half cup of cream, mostly for the fat and to make it a little more filling. A little bit of protein from the cream, not a lot. And then some Splenda just to sweeten it up because it's got no glycemic impact, so it still sort of lets you behave like you're on keto. Not that that's what I was going for, but might as well if I can. And so I would drink that. That would take me a couple of hours to get down because it's a big drink. It ends up being something like 24 ounces of liquid once you blend it all up. I learned a couple things about blending it. One, blending it is better than shaking it. You get a much more consistent drink top to bottom. Using a stand blender, like our big Ninja blender, is not the best idea because it kind of fluffs the liquid and makes it thick and frothy, like the whole way through, not just at the top. And it also warms it up a bit. The blender actually kind of gets warm as the engine runs if you don't add ice to it. And so I found myself using an immersion blender, which I didn't even know we owned. It comes with this big oversized plastic cup that you put the blender down into, and you can kind of like work it up and down. It's like a long wand with a blender head on the bottom. And that does a much better job of blending it without heating it up and without aerating it to make it frothy and thicker than it needs to be, because protein drinks are already thick and you don't want to make it any worse texturally. And so got good at using the immersion blender. That's sort of become one of my new favorite tools. That, and we have a tiny little battery powered like auto whisk that you put in like, coffees or whatever, juice powders to mix it up. It's just a little metal head that spins. Doesn't have a lot of power. Can't really do anything more than like a thin amount of powder in water. So for the coffee and the protein in the morning, using the immersion blender. That went well, took me a couple hours to get through. Around 12, I would pause work and I would take my creatine with my multivitamin powder and another 2 scoops of the Dimetize ISO mixed into a half cup of whole milk. Now that whole sort of combo there is another 400, 450 calories or so. I think the Dimetize is 105 per scoop, so 210. And then adding the milk in is like another 150 or 200, a couple, like something like 20 or 30 calories from the multivitamin for whatever reason. And so that whole thing ended up being about another 400. I did learn, I made a separate video about this, that you can mix the multivitamin powder, for me is orange flavored, with the gourmet vanilla protein and make something like an orange creamsicle shake, which was kind of nice. So I started doing that after a couple days. But I drank that through the afternoon, and then dinner time I was having whatever meat I had in the freezer that I had taken out and defrosted. For the first week it was these 100% beef, like, you know, grass-fed beef sausages that I went out to the grill and grilled in like 0-degree weather. But those were good. I think eating 2 or 2.5 of those was about 400 to 500 calories. So I was somewhere around 1,200 to 1,300 calories a day, and I did do that through the entire week. Getting up at 6, going through that sort of like meal routine. Like I said, the first couple days I had a bit of a headache sort of behind my eyes and in my temples, and I think it's because I had factored in having the pre-workout in the morning and I had now taken that out for the first week. So I think it might have been a caffeine thing. I didn't feel super hungry. I didn't feel super fatigued or have a brain fog. Maybe a touch low energy, but because I hadn't implemented the gym yet, I was mostly just, you know, working at home, playing with the kids, stuff like that. I wasn't doing anything extremely strenuous. So I got through the first week without a problem, and I was seeing good loss on the scale every day. I even went out with my wife Wednesday night, like we always do for date night. We went to Texas Roadhouse, and I got a 16-ounce sirloin with, I think, jack cheese and grilled onions on top. And then I just, you know, I got a bunch of French fries on the side that I brought home for my kids. I didn't eat those. So I just had the 16-ounce steak. So that's 1 pound of beef eaten at like 8:30 at night. And I woke up the next morning and I had still lost like half a pound or 3/4 of a pound, something like that. So the cut is working for sure. The cut and caloric intake is working. Got to Friday afternoon, which is where I'm supposed to, you know, drink my protein and my multivitamin, and then not have any food until Sunday evening when I had dinner, which would be meat. And so that was my first water fast over the weekend. It started out fine. I would say through Friday night, totally fine. Through most of Saturday, totally fine, because I kept myself occupied. I was doing stuff around the house, trying to keep myself busy so I wouldn't think about stopping and eating. And I was making sure I was drinking plenty of water. I probably drank somewhere between 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of water, not chugging it or anything, just, you know, good sips every 15 or 20 minutes to keep myself feeling like I had something in my stomach. And I felt pretty good through most of Saturday. Sunday got a little bit more difficult. We were at home, it was snowing, we decided to stay home from church. And so we were kind of just lounging around the house all day. I tried to keep myself busy, like I made a whole breakfast taco buffet for the family, and I, you know, made burritos for my kids for breakfast with that. And then I made quesadillas for lunch with some Mexican chicken that my wife had cooked in the crock pot that was kind of like a enchilada chicken. So I made quesadillas for everybody for lunch. It just sucked because as I'm making all this food, I'm like standing over the stove and I'm like, you know, cooking hash browns and eggs and all this different stuff that I would love to eat that I can't eat. I'm just serving it to other people and then watching them eat. But it did something in the way of keeping me occupied. Watched a couple of movies, just hung out with the kids, tried to pick up around the house a bit. And by the time I got to, I think it was like 3:30 or 4 o'clock, I was like, this is good enough. Like I'm just sitting on the couch counting the minutes at this point. I've made it more than 48 hours. So I can have my dinner. And so at that time, I had already made the decision that I was going to switch off of the protein powder to solid meat. And the reason for that isn't because I think there's a big difference on the impact it's going to have to the diet. It's just that my wife pointed out that the protein is sort of like shelf stable and there's a bunch of frozen meat in the fridge, and I should probably just eat through the meat that's in the fridge since it can freezer burn and the protein's really not going anywhere. So I'm going to work through what's in the freezer first, and you know, whatever we had defrosted in the fridge. So I ended up having some ground beef. It was probably like 2.5 pounds of ground beef. Browned that up just with some taco seasoning that I sprinkled in because that's a good kind of like, you know, works with whatever flavor. I've been, since Sunday afternoon or Sunday, early evening, afternoon, 4 o'clock, I've been eating ground beef instead of protein, and that's going to be my plan going forward until I'm out of the ground beef, and then I'll see whatever else is in the freezer. But the idea is I used ChatGPT and I explained this whole process to it. Like it knows everything I'm doing with this diet. It knows every aspect of the diet, the exercise, the whole thing. So it can sort of help keep me on track with calculations and planning. And so I told it, hey, I'm dumping the protein powder from meat. Like tell me what I would need to do. My goal is 150 grams of protein a day because that's somewhere around it's 1 gram per kilogram, or it's either 1 gram per kilogram or 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. And I'm guessing right now I'm somewhere between 40 and 45% body fat, just looking at like images of other people with body fat online. I've never done calipers. I've never done like a DEXA scan. I've had those scales in the past that use impedance to measure sort of your fat percentage for your body. I've had the one with the handle and without the handle. They're kind of okay. They're like not the most accurate. They're more consistent than they are accurate. So your body fat percentage reading is probably going to be wrong, but at least you'll know if you're going down or up because it's consistently wrong. I did watch a video by Jeff Nippard, I think his name is, and it's a recent video he put out, and he did this like massive sort of like group study with a bunch of different people. I don't know if they were friends or his or whatever, but men and women ranging from about 45 to 40% body fat, maybe 50% for the men, all the way down to like 4% for the men. Women tend to drop off right around 10% because below that it's really not healthy for women. They need more sort of like working fat on their body than men do. And so I watched that video, and based off that and pictures I've looked at online, I'm guessing I'm around 40 to 45% body fat. So with that in mind, my lean mass at 1 gram of protein per pound of lean mass is somewhere around 150. And so what I asked ChatGPT, or what I've asked it, is, okay, I have a bunch of 85-15 ground beef, not the leanest, but whatever, it's what I had. How much of that do I need to eat per day, split into 3 meals, to get 50 grams of protein per meal, adding up to 150 grams per day? And how many calories is that going to come out to? And it ended up being something like 1,200 calories at 165 grams of beef cooked per meal. And that comes out to 50 grams per meal. And I said, okay, that's a little bit low. What if I add 1 serving of like shredded Mexican cheese to that, which is 28 grams. And it said, oh great, that adds like another 130 calories and a tiny bit more protein, no carbs. So that's a good add-in. And so that's now my 3 times a day meal with a little bit of hot sauce on it. I microwave it, all the cheese melts, you mix it around, and you get like a cheesy beefy bowl with hot sauce in it. And that ends up being about 450 calories and 50 grams of protein per serving 3 times a day. Hits me right around that 1,400, 1,500 calorie a day mark with my 150 grams of protein. I started that last night at the end of my fast, and I did it for breakfast and I did it for lunch today. I'm feeling fine now. This morning I woke up for my first workout. I tried getting up at 4 a.m., was a little bit too groggy, felt a little bit of a tension in my eyes, decided to close my eyes for half an hour, woke up at 4:30 and decided to still go to the gym even though I was now half an hour off. Got up, got myself into my gym clothes, took my pre-workout and my creatine, went outside, realized I did not brush my car off after the snow that we had yesterday, so I had to take like a credit card and scrape off my windshield while it heated up, which was fine. I'm born and raised in New England. We're used to it. It was 12 degrees, I think, when I got in the car. I was in basically booty shorts and a hoodie. I was fine. Got in my car, drove to the gym. It's about 25 minutes to get there. Did decide to mix up the gym routine a bit before I even got to it. So since I was taking last week off of the gym, like hadn't started the gym yet, decided to delay that a week to give myself a chance to adapt to the diet. I spent that week researching solid, efficient strength training gym routines. And I decided not to go with the Mike Mentzer program that I've used in the past. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's efficient, but I was doing some research and I decided I wanted to try something a bit more science bro, a bit more like, here's the data that shows that this method of training actually maximizes growth potential in the most limited amount of time, sort of like a maximum effort, limited time, most growth. And the specific plan I ended up using, looked at a bunch of different content creators and guys on YouTube, again, cross-referencing material to try to find what seems to be the common denominator of truth between them. And I decided to go with a program from about 8 or 9 months ago by Dr. Mike Israetel. He has a group or I guess, a program called RP Strength. It's an app and all that. I don't use the app. I use an app called Heavy, H-E-V-Y. And you can create your own routines in that app. And so I just watched his video and copied the routine template into the app. But it's, instead of being a 3-day split where it goes chest, back, and then legs, and then arms, shoulders, it is a sort of like a double, like it repeats, because the whole thing is you can probably, unless you're like really maxing out massive muscle and you need tons of recovery time, you can probably train the same muscle groups multiple times in a week without injuring yourself, over fatiguing yourself, anything like that. You don't need that much recovery time until you're like massive and really doing the work, right? Or really overdoing it. You go to failure, or you go very close to failure, but unless you're going extremely hardcore, you probably don't need 2 or 3 days recovery in between a body group. You probably don't, a muscle group, you probably don't need the full week for sure. And that's sort of how the Mike Mentzer program worked. So toggling over to this Mike Israetel program, Mike, funny, and both creators. This program is a upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, and you take Wednesdays off. So Monday is upper body. It's 5 different exercises. The first 2 pairs are supersetted together, and then the last pair is a, what do they call it? A myo set. So your exercise, you're going until failure, and then you're doing like micro sets to work out the last bit of energy. I'm doing this because the micro set today was lateral raises. But anyway, so it's upper body, lower body. So Monday, you've got 5 exercises for the upper body, superset, and then a myo set. The Tuesday is lower body. It's a 3-way superset. So it's 3 exercises supersetted together. Wednesday, you take off. Thursday is another upper body, same thing, superset with a myo set at the end, using different exercises to hit the same muscle groups and in an inverted order. So I believe on Monday it goes bicep, tricep, shoulders, or no, it goes chest, back, bicep, tricep, shoulders. But then Thursday it goes back, chest, tricep, bicep. So it just reorders the muscle groupings. And then at the end you have the myo set. And then on Friday you have another leg, 3 lower body exercises. Those ones are not supersetted together. Those are just 3 separate exercises. At least it didn't say in the video they were supposed to be triple supersetted together. If that was intended and anybody knows what video I'm talking about, let me know, because I would love to know if I'm doing it wrong. But I did the Monday workout today. It felt great. I absolutely burned out my muscles. I could go up. My plan is to, they're 15 to 20 rep sets. And you do the supersets twice before you move on to the next one, and then you do the myo set at the end. If I can do 20 reps on both sets of the same exercise, the next week when I do that exercise, I'm gonna add 5 pounds. That's my plan. So I'm sort of progressively going up week on week. If I fail to hit 20 reps on both sets of that exercise, I will continue to do it at the same weight next week until I can do 20 at both sets, and then I'll go up 5. And so right now, today's exercise had a, let's see, it was an incline bench with dumbbells. I was able to do 20 reps on both of those, so that'll go up 5 next week. It was a reverse grip lat pull down, so I got 20 on that as well for both, so that'll go up. Then there was a bicep curl with dumbbells. I did not go full on that. I probably went a little too heavy on the weight for those, so that'll stay the same next week. It did feel good though, like I'm in the right range. I'm just not ready to move up yet. And then that was paired with a tricep push down, which I did max out, so that will go up again next week. And then lastly was a full range of motion shoulder raise, like lat raise, that I've never done before. So standing, feet a little bigger than shoulder width, dumbbells in your hands out by your sides, and instead of just raising them out till they're lateral, you actually raise them out all the way over your head and come together over your head, and then go down with like a really slow sort of like deceleration on the way down to control it. And those are brutal. I thought there was going to be less tension once you go from lateral to up, like when you go from parallel to the ground with up. I thought as you went higher, because you're sort of straightening your arms out, the muscles that supported the weight were now switching to like your triceps. I didn't realize there's a whole like separate set of shoulder muscles that it needs to transition to keep going past parallel. And I've apparently never worked those muscles because that was brutal. I think I got like 18 on the first set and then like 6 on the second set, and my shoulders were dead. I almost couldn't like shift and steer going home. It was crazy. But got that workout done, only took about 30 minutes. Because I did get to the gym 45 minutes later than planned, I want to get there around 4:30. I got there around 5:10, or maybe right around 5:05. There were a lot more people at the gym than I was hoping. I actually walk around for 5 minutes before I could get the first superset going. And then even then, just as I was finishing the first superset, I went to go back to the bench that I was using for the incline dumbbell presses, and somebody had already started using it. And so I just kind of walked up and I was like, oh, I was using that. I'm done with it, but I didn't wipe it down. I hope that's okay. And they were like, oh, I didn't think anybody was using, sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. I just wanted to make sure you weren't upset that it wasn't wiped down. I was coming back. I was just over on the lat pull down machine. And she was like, yeah, no problem. So it was like a 30-minute workout. That's the idea. These 4 days are supposed to be 30 minutes each. So you're doing a combined 2 hours of work in a week to get this, maximized strength training. It's not maximized in the sense that, like, if you're on steroids and you want to go absolutely nuts, or even if you're just already super bulked and you're pushing crazy weight, you might need to do more than 30 minutes in the gym 4 days a week. But I am not at that point, and so it should work fine for me. And so, yeah, that sort of brings us to now. My energy feels fine, no more headaches, no brain fog, no fatigue. I feel clear-headed. I'm doing meat now until I get through all the meat in my freezer, and then I'll go back to the protein powder until the protein powder is gone, and then just sort of get it out there. The ultimate goal is once I'm through all the protein powder and all whatever meat is left in my freezer, it's just gonna be grilled chicken. Grilled chicken literally on the grill, like a bunch of seasonings, grilled on the grill with some cheese on top, chopped up. That's gonna be my 3 times a day meal. I checked with ChatGPT. I wanna say again, it's like 165 grams of chicken, grilled boneless, skinless chicken breasts with the 1 serving of shredded cheese on top of it and some hot sauce 3 times a day. And that puts me at like 12 or 1,300 calories, 150 grams of protein, and I'm good to go from there. So yeah, that's the plan going forward. I feel good. I'm down about 10 pounds. I got my first exercise in this morning. I think tomorrow I'm gonna be able to get up at 4. So far, this is working. I have a graph, sort of an Excel table that I put together that charts my current weight based on morning weigh-ins compared to the projected daily weight from ChatGPT using this program. And I'm currently under the curve. So I'm losing weight faster than ChatGPT projected. And I'm using a logarithmic trend line on my data, my actual weigh-in data, to project where I'm going to be in the future. Now, again, the first week is unrealistic. That's probably not going to be the consistent trend. But even if I now lose half as much as I lost in that first week at a semi-consistent rate, I'll lose 55 pounds in this 60-day program. And that's before I started exercising. Now I'm exercising. I am going to use that Wednesday day off from the 2-day and 2-day program to do a cardio. I'll just do 1 hour on the elliptical because why waste it? And cardio's no impact, so it's not going to mess with me as far as a recovery day goes. But yeah, so this is feeling good. This seems like it's going to work. The weekends are hard, but they are doable. And then the week is fine. So yeah, this seems like it's gonna be great. I realized that was a much longer video. I just wanted to do a quick update, and that turned into like a whole thing because I had a bunch of different program updates to provide. But yeah, I think this is gonna work. A couple days I may give myself. I think I'm gonna have whatever I want on Christmas Eve and Christmas because why not? Never been a big New Year's Eve, New Year's Day person, so probably just gonna stick to the diet on those. My kids, 2 of my children have birthdays in January, so we're combining those to 1 birthday party in mid-January. I may have some cake at that, whatever. Never been a huge cake person, so it's fine. We are getting a bunch of pizzas though, so that I might go crazy on. And then I just found out from my company, I may actually have to go spend a week with our partners in Japan, in Nagoya, for a week in January. I'm not sure if that's happening yet. And if I do go, I'm eating as much ramen as humanly possible, because that's what I do when I go to Japan. And so that is gonna be what it is. There's probably not gonna be a gym that I'll have access to. I'm gonna be all wonky from the jet lag and the inverted time schedule because it's a 12 or 13 hour time difference, depending on whether or not there's daylight savings time. So that week's just gonna be a bust, but I'll jump right back into things when I get back. And hopefully I'll do a bunch of walking because whenever I'm not working, I grab my camera and I go out and I try to do as much sightseeing as possible. Like last time I had a day off while I was there, I just randomly hopped on the Shinkansen and I rode to, where did I go? Not Yokohama, Kyoto. I went to Kyoto and just walked around, saw a bunch of sights, took a bunch of pictures, had a great time just by myself. So hopefully I can do that a bit more if I go back this time. Another thing is last time I went, I didn't have time to get my wife to come. I think she might have been pregnant at the time. This time we will definitely try to get my wife on the trip with me, because all we have to pay for is the plane ticket. She can share the hotel room and she can, you know, do whatever during the days while I'm working. So we'll see. But the point is, for now, the diet is doable and feeling good. The exercise is doable and improved upon what I think it was what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, down 10 pounds. I will give you guys an update in another week, next Monday. We'll make this a Monday thing. But other than that, hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.